All right, welcome back to Genius. So let's talk about ES6 features. Features like the structuring, template literals, and spread operator. Okay, even the rest operator too. So you must have seen some of these things, but maybe you might not really know how they work. So let us take a look at it. So we'll take a look at the structuring, both arrays and object destructuring. We'll take a look at template literals. I hope most of you would have seen template literals. You take a look at spread operator. So you'll be reading ES6 and beyond. Why GKJS? You don't know JavaScript enough. So you'll be reading ES6 and beyond, chapter 2 to 3. So you're going to refactor your older code so that you can use ES6 features. So look at any code that you have. Look at how you can actually use these ES6 features to refactor. Refactoring means just to rewrite your code, if I can put it that way. Like maybe let me just put it that way, rewriting it in a different way. Okay, I'll just put it that way. So what is destructuring? Okay. So the structuring in ES6 feature is an ES6 feature that lets you unpack. Okay. I think in Python they call it call it unpacking. In Python is unpacking. Okay, but in JavaScript it is destructuring. It lets you unpack values from arrays or extract properties from objects into separate variables in a clean and easy way. All right. I'm speaking a lot of grammar here, so we'll just go and see how it's been done. So instead of writing long code to access values, you can quickly pull them out. Okay. Excuse me. So let's take a look at you can do array destructuring, you can do object destructuring, but let's take a look at array destructuring. So array destructuring extract values by position. Okay. So the basic example is something you have array numbers like this. So if you want to destructure them, okay, you can actually let me show you. So I think I'm going to delete everything I have here. Okay, so I have these arrays like this. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arrays. So if I want to destructure them, normally, if I want to get each and every item, I will have to say let maybe 1 equal to, I will now say numbers. I use the index of 0. Do you know, this is how you do it normally. You will do this thing for every particular, for every index, for every position. But with array destructuring, it's very easy. You can use const or you can use let anyone. You do this and then is equal to numbers. Okay. So inside of here, you can call them, you can now give them the name of variables like this. You can see 4 and 5. So if I go on and print each and every one of these, you're going to see that console.log, I'm going to print them 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you can see that, look at what we are doing here. This is the array. Okay, and then we are creating variables. All right, we are using either the constant keyword, the const keyword, or let. So we are creating variables here, and then this will take the position. So this one will be position. This will take the positions. One will be the first one. So this will be position 0, index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4. So if I go on and print this, I might try to use. I might just run this thing like this now. I might not open the browser. I might just click on this run button. And you can see it has printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each and every variable here is taking the position of all these guys. Okay. So let us go back to our slide. So you can see that in this case now, All right. You just how you have to do is either you use const or you use let. Okay, so you're using these are variables we are now creating. But with this square bracket, putting all these variables inside the square bracket, we are now destructuring this array. Okay, so when you do this, you're going to get just what we have gotten now. But for my own, I printed all of them in one line. That is why we have it like this. Okay, so this is array destructuring. You create, you open up, you start with the constant keyword or the let keyword, showing that you want to create variables. Then you actually open a square bracket. Then you will now create variables. All right, variable names here, identifiers. So separate them with commas, and then they will just take each and every position there. So you can also skip values. All right. You can also skip values. So now, but if you want to skip value, look at what they are doing here. You will have to put this comma here. You have to also put this comma, and you make sure that they match. If you put more than if you have more variables than the number of items, it will be undefined. So in this case now, you can actually skip. So in case I want to skip 3, I will have to do this. Oh, sorry, not here. I'm not supposed to do it there. Okay, of course, I'm not going to, since I'm skipping it. So I can skip 3 here. I can skip 3 and I can skip maybe 5. Okay, or I can skip 2 and 3. But make sure you have the commas. I think I might have an error here. So I think this will be fine. So I don't have 2 anymore. So I hope I wouldn't have any errors if I save and click on this run button. You see, I get 1, 4, 5. So I have skipped 2 and 3. So let me see what will happen. Of course, it will run. Yeah, it will run 1, 3, 4. Okay, see in this case now, it has 4 has been for the 3. You understand? So, but make sure if you want to skip, always make sure in this case now we said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this thing represents the positions, like the indices of the items. Okay, so if I remove any comma here, or if I remove one of them now, one of the commas, that means it will represent it will be like, okay, I'm skipping the second value, the second item. So make sure that you work with the right commas. So in this case, I skipped 1 and 2. So 2 and 3 will not. Here I'm skipping index 1 and index 2. So index 1 and index 2 will be skipped. So this is how you skip. Okay. Just make sure. One thing you need to understand is that these variables we are creating here are going to be, if JavaScript is going to take all these items and fill them in based on their index values. So the first one is going to be index 0. The second one will be index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4. And it will just take and put all these values inside of them. Okay, so in this case, now you can see that we have 3 items in this fruit, but now the first and the third is only picked. Then the second one was left blank, open, but there was comma to show that, okay, something is here, but it's going to be blank. Okay, so we got apple is the first one and the third one is orange. So you can skip values when you're destructuring. This destruction is something you will definitely use it. It makes a lot of sense. I use it a lot. So what of default values? If the array doesn't have enough values, okay, so if you are in this case, okay, let me just explain. So if I go on, if I go on and add 6, you can see that we do not have 6. We only have 5 items, and I'm getting the 6th one. If I go on and print it, it will give me undefined. It will give me undefined. So if I save and run, you see the last one gave us undefined. But I can say, okay, in case this does not exist, I can give it a default value of, let's say, 6. So it will no longer be undefined anymore because I gave it a default value. So if I run this, I will now get 6. So this is how you give a default value. So if you're not sure that the array have that number of items, you can use default values. So in this case, I said 6 is equal to 6. But if there is any way that there is a sixth item here, it will no longer take 6, it will take 7 here. So if I run it, you will see that we have 7. So this is the default value in case there is no sixth item. But in this case, now there is a sixth item. That is why it took 7. But if there is no sixth item, it will take the default value. If there is no sixth item, it will take the default value, which is 6. So this is how you create default values. Okay. Now the thing is this, do not bother yourself to cram all these things, but just try to understand the concept. You cannot, it's only when you practice it that it will be, you will master it. You will definitely forget some of these things. Even me that is teaching you, I'll definitely forget some of these things. So, but if I want to write any code that has to do with the structuring and maybe I forgot, oh, default value, how to do it, I can Google it or I can come back to this class. Okay. So, but just understand the concept. All right. So you can see in this case, this array is just, it only has one item. But here we are destructuring for 2 variables and we gave default values. So because of it has one item, so the first one, which is S, will now be 10. All right, then the second one, which is Y, will now be 2 because there is no second item here. And that is why when you run X and Y, you get 10 and 2. So this default value was no longer used because we have an item in that position. Had it been there was no item in that position, it will take it. It will take the default value. But here, Y is equal to 2. So Y took the default value because there is no second item here. You can also swap variables. It's a common trick to swap variables. So if somebody gives you a program to write to say you should swap variables, it's very easy to do. Okay? So now let's assume, I think I will clear all this. Um, hmm, okay, so let's say I have a variable. Let's say A is equal to 10. And I have another one. Let B equal to 20. So if I want to swap these values, I want A to be B and I want B to be A. All I have to do is this. I will say, since I already have A and B, I will just go with, okay. Now, because I already have the variable, I will go with B, A, okay. And then I will say A and B. So you can see that in this case, now I'm no longer using const keyword. I just hope that this code will work. I'm no longer using const keyword. So if I console.log and I say A and B, you can see if I save and run, there is an error. Okay, so refresh cannot access B because initially. Okay, so I need to, okay. Uh-huh. So it's complaining. Let me see. Yeah, in this case, why am I having this issue? It says cannot access B before initialization. I already have B here now. Okay, let me try this. Then I will have to now do, oh, sorry. I have to now do B and A. Okay. I run. I still having the same B. What's happening? Oh, sorry. This is A, not B. Okay. If I run the code again, wow. Cannot access B before initialization. So, what is the issue here? We have let A equals to B and B equal to 10. So, what? Okay. I don't know what is really happening. Let me say run again. Here there is no issue. So what is the problem? Hmm. Wow. There's no issue with the A, but there's an issue with the B. It says cannot access B before initialization. Ah, ah. Hmm. I'm trying to figure this out, and you can see it's okay with this one. So what is the problem? If I do A, there's A already. I cannot declare it two times. I do B, I cannot. I really don't know why I'm having these error. Oh. Ah, ah. I don't know why my code is not running. No, I don't know. But oh, maybe okay. I think I get it. It's from my syntax. Okay, see, since I didn't put semicolon here, JavaScript is going to read this thing like this. JavaScript is going to read this code like this. But if I put semicolon, it will say, oh, this is the end of that statement. And if I run, I was wondering what is really the problem. Okay. So it was just the semicolon. You see why, for me, I always like using semicolons. It was just that semicolon. So in this case, now I've been able to swap um, A to be B and B to be A. It was just a semicolon. All right, all right, all right. So you can see now. All right. We also have nested array destructuring. So if you have nested arrays, you can still destructure them. So in this case, let's assume I have an array numbers, and this number array has um it has what's it called? Nested array. Oh, sorry, no dots. It has nested array. So if I go on now, look at what is going to happen. If I go on and say const, and then I say A, B, all right? C, D. A, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And I do numbers. So remember that this A is going to take the index 0, which is this nested array. So A is going to give us an array. Okay. If I go on and print it, A is going to give us that first array because that's the index 0, index 0. If I go on and run, you see, it gave us an array. It gave us an array. So I can as well, since I know that this A is going to be an array, I can as well destructure it. And I can say A1, A2. Do you understand? I can as well destructure it because I know that the first item, the first position here is an array. So I can destructure it right away. So I can say A1 and A2. And if I go ahead and run this code, it's going to print 1 and 2. It's going to print 1 and 2, but I have destructured it. It is no longer an array. So I destructured it because I know that the first one is going to be an array. So I can as well destructure it right away. This is very, very cool. If you start using this, it's very, very cool. So you can destructure, you can see how I destructured it. The first item is an array, so I have to destructure it. Okay. So that's a nested array. So in this case, 1 is simple, is a simple number, and the second item is an array. So in this case, it's been destructured here using 2 and 3 to destructure the second item here. And when you print this, you get this. Okay. Now let's talk about object destructuring. Just the same thing, just like the same thing. Instead of square bracket, you use curly brace. You use square bracket to create arrays. So you use curly brace to create objects. So all you have to do is to use curly brace for your object. Okay, so if I go on now and I want to work with, I could have a student object here, and I have name, person, and I have age, 67. So I can destructure this student object. I can say const, and it should be in curly braces like this, is equal to student. All right. And then when I come back inside my curly braces, I can now look for name. You can see it's giving me name already. And then I will say age, and it's giving me intelligence. So if I go on now, in this case, now I have destructured this object. So I can go on and print. I can go on and use the name and the age. If I run this code now, I will get person and 67, which is the name and the age. So this is how you destructure an object. Just the same way you destructure an array. The only thing is that you have to use curly brace instead of square bracket. You can also do, I can say courses. Courses can be, it can be an array. So you can also destructure arrays like this. It can be um, Java, CSS. So you can see this is an array. It could be HTML. Okay. So it can also be, if I can have, what's it called again? I can have another object. I can say address. I can say address, and this address is an object, and I can say home address is blah, blah, blah. All right. And then office address is another blah, blah, blah. So now, but with one thing with, what's it called again? One thing with objects is that you can use their keys. Do you understand? So I can go and say, okay, I want to destructure address. Okay. But now since address, I can destructure address. Okay. And then the other one courses. Okay, so you can work with this like this. So you can see you have the address and you have the courses and you can print them and you get them. Okay. So let's continue. So you can see that we're able to destructure the name and the age. Okay, so you can also rename variables. Now, if I don't want now, like you have already seen that with object destructuring, you actually make use of their what's it called again, their keys. So if I want to change this name, if I want to change this key name, I can use the same, I can use colon and say and call it full name like this. Okay, and then I use this a lot. I use this a lot. So in this case, I have changed normally the key is name, but if I want to change the name, I will just put a colon here and put the new name here, and then I can now use the new name in my program. Okay, if I still go on and save and run this code, I will still get the same thing. I will still get the same thing. Okay. So you can rename variable. You can give variables new names. So in this case now, name, all right, colon, joy, age, colon 22. So you can rename them. You can rename them. All right. You can rename them. See, name is being renamed to full name and age is being renamed to years. So if you use them here, you can still get whatever you want to do. So this is how to rename. This is how to rename. You can also do default values. If a property does not exist and you're looking for it, you will get undefined, just like we did in the array type. Okay. But here you will also get undefined. So you can use default value. Just almost the same thing that applies with the array destructuring also applies here. So nested objects. All right. In this case, now you see there's a nested object here. So you can also destructure them. All right. So you can destructure them. So in this case, this address, you understand, this address is an object. So I can destructure it like this. All right. And I can look for home and I can look for, what's it called again? Office. But once you do this, you can no longer have access to, let's try to see if we can have access to the address. Address is no longer available because we have destructured it. We can no longer use it. So let's try and see if that's still possible. You can see address was not found. This will no longer be valid. What will be valid is these ones that are inside. So address will no longer be valid. Okay. So you can also destructure the courses as an array. I will do this. And I can just say I can name one and I can say two. So if I go on and print, let's see, one and two. You can see we got it here. So look at Java and CSS. I was able to destructure the array because I know that this courses is an array. I was able to destructure it using array destructuring, using the square bracket. But in this case, I was also able to destructure the address, which is an object. So these are nested objects and arrays. So I destructured them. You can rename using colon. All right. You can also the structure using colon, then you use the structuring syntax too. Okay, so you can also give default value. You can also give default value. All right. Okay. So you can also destructure in function parameters. We use these things very well in React. Okay, so when we get to React, okay, so let me show you what object destructuring can look like. So let's assume that we have a function. Okay, so let's assume that we have a function. I have a function that takes in an object. It takes in a student object. Okay, it takes in a student object. So I can go and say, I'm destructuring right away. I can go for name because I know there is name and I know there is age. All right. And I know there is address. and I know there is courses. All right. So you can see I am destructuring it already. Oh my God, I did not give it a name. I did not give this function a name. I can just say func. All right. So I can now say console.log name, age, address, and courses. But you can, if you see, I am using array destructuring here. I'm using object destructuring here. So if I now go on and call this func, I will pass in the student object. Okay. Once I pass in the student object, I have in the function declaration, I have already destructured them and I'm using them inside here. So you really appreciate this thing more in TypeScript. So if I run this code now, this function will be called, and here we go. You see, I have person, I have 67 as age, and I have home and office address, and I have the array. Okay, so you can see that I have already destructured it before here. So this will make more sense when we start using TypeScript. When we start learning TypeScript, you're going to understand because I could have just passed in this thing as a type, student to be the type. But it's okay. Even before we get to use this function destructuring, we will see it in React and API. So from the back end, when we get to APIs, we will see it. When we also use React, we would also see it. But mostly, it will make more sense in TypeScript. Don't worry, we'll talk about TypeScript in a later week, okay? So you can see we have been able to destructure it, okay? Then that's it. So you can also combine both array and object destructuring. So from what you have seen so far, you can do this. I don't even need to explain this. If you cannot do this, that means you have not understood anything I'm explaining here. If you cannot do this, if you cannot understand this mixing array and object destructuring, that means you have not understood anything I'm doing here. So I advise you to rewatch this video, start from the beginning. Okay? So in this case, this is an array that has objects as its items. So in this case, they can be destructured. The array is being destructured here. The array is being destructured here, but inside the destructuring, since we are here, we are destructuring the array, and inside the array, we are destructuring the objects. Okay, so you should do this one yourself. You should understand this. If you don't understand it, that means you've not been understanding anything I'm saying since. So go back, start afresh. Okay. All right. Rest with destructuring. So now, if you don't want to pick, or if you don't want to pick if you want to pick few items, all right, you can pick few items, and the other one will be you leave them. So let me show you what I mean. I think this is mostly is easier. Okay, let's do with array first. Okay, I wouldn't want to come back and retype this thing again. So let me delete this. Let me create an array. I'll call it ARR, and is equal to numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now look at what I mean here. If I just want to pick the first A, and then the remaining ones, I can use the spread, the rest operator. I can just call it B. So what it's going to do is that is going to just assign the first item in index 0 to A, then the remaining ones, 2, 3, 4, 5 will now be inside B. So this is now going to be an array. This B now will be an array. So if I go on and say console.log A, I will get an array. No, I will get 1. If I console.log B, I will get an array. So look at what I'm doing here. I'm only picking the first item, and I said the rest of them, put it in B. So 2, 3, 4, 5 will be in B. If I save and run this code, you see, the first one is 1, which is A, and the rest are now in 2, 3, 4, 5 are now in another array. So this is what we mean by performing rest with all right. So in this case now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the first one will be 1, then the others will now be 2, 3, 4, 5. So all you have to do is to use the 3 dots. This is called the rest operator. You use the 3 dots. Okay. So you can see first is 1 and others is 2, 3, 4, 5. So first comma, then 3 dots, the name of the variable. You can also do the same thing with objects. All right, you do the same thing with objects. Here, name will be Joy. Then these details will now be another object containing age and country. So you see, it contains age and country. Just the same thing with the array. So let's talk about template literals. What are template literals? Template literals, they are a new way of working with strings. You have already seen it. Instead of using double quote or single quote, you use backticks. You use backticks to create your strings. So you can also insert variables directly into strings. So now let me show you. Now I could have const full name. So instead of using double quote or single quote, I will use backticks. And I will say person. All right, look at what I'm doing here. I did not use single quote. I did not use double quote. I'm using backtick. Backticks is, look for it, the top, below the button, below the escape key. All right, you see backtick there. All right, so you can see I'm using backtick to create a new string, instead of using double quote or single quote. But there is more to using backtick, template literal. You can use it to write multi-line strings naturally. In short, for me, I formed the habit of using backticks to write my string because there is a whole lot. See what I'm going to do here. I can use this thing to write multi-line. And if I go ahead and console.log this full name, if I go ahead and console.log this full name, you can see this space is also preserved. You see this space, it was preserved here. But I cannot do this thing with maybe single quotes. It will be an error. There will be an error. You can't do this multi-line with single quotes or even double quote. You see, there's an error. There's an error already. Okay? So if you want to do multi-line, you will use backticks. You can also add variables inside of it. Yeah, some of you would have seen me do this already. So I'll take this back. So I still continue with my backtick. So if I want to say my name is, okay, so I can just say const first name. Okay, person. And then const last name is Now, normally I would have been using string concatenation to concatenate this string, but I'm not going to do that. I can just say, if I want to do my full name, I can just say, I will use this. Look at what I'm doing. All right, I will say first name. I'll give a space, and I'll do for last name. You can see what I'm doing here. I'm embedding variables inside of string. So if I console.log, you're going to see my name is person one with a space there. This space is also here. So you can see I'm using backtick, and I'm adding it's called string interpolation. Okay, so I'm using string literal to actually embed variables inside of this string. So this is for me, this is easier. Instead of doing concatenation, using plus and doing all those things, for me, this is easier. You have to be using this. All right. There is a time your code will get very messy if you're using concatenation. So you have to learn how to use this, okay? So there's also something we also call tag template, but it's for advanced string manipulation. Okay. So this is the backtick string. So you can use you can use it to create a string. You can also use it for string interpolation. Okay. You can add expressions inside of it. All right. So features of template literal, embedding variables, which is called string interpolation. Okay, with template literal, you can directly insert variables using the $ and the curly brace. So you now put the variable inside the curly brace. You've just seen me do that. So here I have name and I have age. So I can say my name is this and I am this years old using the string interpolation. You can see it here. Okay. So multi-line string, you can use it to create multi-line string. Instead of, we don't need new line character or concatenation. This is just easier. Multi-line string is just easier, okay? You can have expression inside of a string. You can run JavaScript code, even JavaScript functions. You can run JavaScript functions inside of a string using the string interpolation. Okay, this is amazing. All right? Yeah. You can even, like I said, you can call functions inside of string. Oh my God. You can literally call a function inside of string interpolation. The thing is that you see this thing that is here, all right? JavaScript is going to evaluate it, whether it's a function call, whatever it is, JavaScript will evaluate this expression, and the return value of that expression will be added inside this string. All right. So we also have nested template literal. You can embed one template inside another. You can do crazy things with this template literal. You can embed, look at it, user, this, and they are embedding inside of here too. So you can try these things yourself. It's not hard. It's not hard. So we also have what we call the spread operator. The spread operator lets you expand arrays, objects, or other iterables into individual elements. So think of it like unpacking items from a bus. So instead of carrying the bus itself, you can spread out what's inside. So spread in arrays, you can expand arrays. So you have this array. So you can actually expand this array by using the spread operator, 3 dots. All right. So look at what I'm going to do. So let's say I have this array. I have it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can unpack it by using, I can do console.log and I'll do .arr. So it is going to unpack it. Just like now you have a bus, you just traveled, you traveled and you came back. So your friend or your brother or your sister helped you to unpack your bus. That's what we are doing here. We have an array, so we are unpacking. So if I run this code now, it will unpack it and print it out for us. But without unpacking, it will just print out the array. So in this case now, you see it is printed in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not printed as an array, it's printed individually. Okay. So that's the spread operator. Okay. You can also copy arrays. So in this case, if I want to copy this array to another array, I will just do, I will do cons, I will do array, I will do AR. Okay. And if I will first of all open the square bracket, then I'll do .ARR. So I am unpacking. So everything inside here will be packed. It's just like you have a bus and you're unpacking it into another bus. That's what we are doing here. So this is like copying. We are copying this array inside of this other one, but this is a shallow copying. So if I go ahead and console.log AR, sorry, oops. If I console.log AR, I'm going to get the same thing because I just unpacked one bus from one bus to another bus. So you see, I'm using this thing now to copy, okay? But you can see that it is being copied inside of another array because I'm using the square bracket, all right? So that's exactly what was being done here, okay? All right. So you can also merge arrays. This is the first array fruit. More fruits also have another array. So you can merge arrays. All you have to do is, okay, let me show you. Let's assume I have this second array to be 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. So if I go on and do the third array, A is equal to, oops, sorry, this comma. All right. So I will go and say I'll open another array and I'm going to spread. It's like I have two buses and I want to put everything in one bus. I would spread AR, ARR, comma. I will spread again the AR. So what do you think A will give us? We have two buses and we have unpacked it inside of another bus. It will give us everything that the two buses have. So look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 9. Okay, so we have unpacked two buses inside another bus. So just use the spread operator. All right, that's what we have here. Okay. You can also use it to add elements while spreading. This is an array. So you can see we have another element, we have another array, and we have the first element to be 0. And between comma, then we are unpacking. We are unpacking. So do this. This is not going to be hard if you really understand what I've been explaining here. It's just the same concept. So this one is being added inside of them, and if you print this thing, you're going to get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this position too, this will be spread. It will be spread inside here. Okay. You can also spread strings. Okay. So if I want to print, I have a string. If I have a string, okay, and I have hello world. Okay. If I want to unpack this string, what I will do is this. I will just say console.log. Okay. And I will do dot 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 str. So it's going to print this. All the string will be divided into you see, I have, okay, how do I put it now? This whole thing is no longer one string. It has been unpacked, just like it has been unpacked, just like an array. So it is not a string. It has been unpacked like an array. So look at the difference. If I also print out string, shit. If I also print out only string, I hope the difference will be clear. Okay, but basically it was, how you can see, look at the difference. This one was unpacked, but this one was not unpacked. Do you understand the difference? So this is the second one is a string, but these ones are individual characters that we are unpacked. Okay. You can also use this in this way to convert a string into an array. Okay, you can also use this trick to convert a string into an array. So if I go on and then I say const array string. So I'm going to unpack. No, I'll put it inside an array like this, then I will unpack. So I'm converting this, sorry. So if I print out this array string, it's going to give us a new array instead of a string. So if I run, see it, I have an array. So I have converted this string to an array. So you can also unpack strings. All right, you can also do the same thing with objects. Just the same thing. The same spread operator, you can also do it in object and you get the same thing. What you have seen me do in arrays is just the same thing. Okay, you can also use it to merge. I have one object, I have another object. So if I merge the two of them using the spread operator inside, but this time around, I'm not using the square bracket, I'm using the curly braces. So I'm emptying from one bus to another bus, but this kind of bus is an object, and I'm going to get exactly the same thing. Try it out yourself, okay? You can also use it to override properties. I also use this a lot in my code. Okay, if two objects have the same key, the last one wins. So you can try all these things out. So I have object one, I have object two. Okay, so if I unpack these two objects into one, A, B, B, 4, sorry, B, C. So there will be a conflict between the first one have B, the second one have B. So what do we do? The last one, the last B would win. So instead of B being 2 here, B is going to be 3. Okay, so if you merge the two like this, you see B is going to be 3. So it will pick the last one. Okay, you can also use it to add new properties. So I have this object already, so I can use it to add new properties. So you see, I'm unpacking. I have an object and I'm unpacking and I'm adding properties right away. This is an object. The curly brace means that it's an object. But first of all, I'm unpacking the first object user and then I'm adding new properties. This is supposed to be simple to understand. I think so. But if you think otherwise, reach out to me. But if you don't understand what I'm saying, so if you don't understand this thing I just explained now, that means you've not been understanding what we have been doing so far. Okay, try it out yourself. You can also have spread in function calls. Okay. Hmm. You can have it in function calls. So you have a function that takes into three arguments, and you have an array that has 3 items. So you can spread this array inside of this function arguments like this. And once you spread, there will be 1, 2, 3. There will not be 1, 2, 3, and they will just be the same thing here. I am not going to further explain because I think I have explained this spread operator enough. So you need to, I believe you understand what I'm saying. But if you don't, that means you have not been following so far. In this case, what am I doing? I have a function that is expecting 3 items, and I'm spreading an array that has 3 items. So what will happen? Those 3 items in that array will be given to the function. As simple as that. Okay, you can also do it with math functions. Most of the math functions expect an array, so you can spread it. You can also spread an array and then it will get it. Okay. So we have the spread operator and we have the rest operator. So what's the difference? They look the same because they use dot, dot, dots. Okay. Spread operator expands an item, unpacks an item. So you use spread operator in objects, in arrays to unpack an object. But for the rest operator, it collects items into an array. Basically, rest operators are actually used as function parameters. Okay, they are basically used as function parameters. So look at this example now. This here, we are unpacking. This is function argument here. We are using this spread operator as a function argument. But for rest, we use it for packing. So now, anything you put in here, okay, if you call this function now, all right, it will pack. In this case, when you use dot 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 in as a function parameter, it will pack. It will not unpack. So let me show you. Let me show. Of course, you already understand rest operator, but when it comes to function calls, rest operators, um, rest operators are you see them in function arguments. So, but for spread operators, you see them in function arguments. But for rest operators, you see them in function parameters. So I have a function. I'll call it func, and then oh my God, function, and the name is func. And then I have let's see A, and I have dot 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 B. Okay, So in this case, I am using rest operator here. Why? This dot 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 you're seeing here is a rest operator. It's not spread. You will see spread operators in function arguments, but in this case, this is function parameter. Remember, when you're declaring your function, your variables inside the parentheses are parameters. So if I go on and say console.log b, look at what is going to happen when I call this function. Okay, I'm going to call this func. Then I'm going to pass in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What do you think will happen if I run this code now? Of course, the first argument here is going to be for A, and the rest of them is going to be for B. So 2, 3, 4, 5 will be for B, and there's going to be an array. And in this case, I'm printing B, which is an array. So if I run this code now, you will see that, oh, there's an error. Sorry. Where is the problem? In the dot, in the, okay. Oh, so I'm supposed to there's supposed to be a space here. Sorry about that. And if I run again, you see, look at what is happening now. This 2, 3, 4, 5 was printed as an array. So we have elements, items here that we are packed into this rest operator. They were packed into this rest operator. But if I do if I have another function and I just call this function A, and this function is expecting A, B, C, all right? You can see in the function call console.log A, B, and C. You can see in this case, in this parameter now, I'm not using any dot, dot, dot. All right? So, but if I now want to call this function, I will call A as the function, and I will I can pass in an array. Okay. Okay, so let's say I already have this array somewhere. Okay, and I have 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 items there, and this one is also expecting 3 items. So if I now call A and say dot 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 array, you see here I am doing here I am unpacking. This is function call, and anything I put inside this parenthesis is what? Is an argument. But in this case, this is parameter. So when you're using dot 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 in function calls like argument, you're you're unpacking. Do you understand? You're unpacking. So in this case, I'm unpacking this array. All right. But here I am packing because everything that after the first item here, like after the first argument, every other item will be packed into this box called B. I don't know how else I can explain this, but I hope you understand this. Okay, but don't worry, with practice, you're going to understand better. All right, it took me time to really understand this, but if you think I didn't explain it enough, please reach out to me and ask for more explanation, okay? So if I run this code now, I'm going to get, you can see the first one was packed, the B here, and the second one was was unpacked. This array was unpacked, okay? So if you need more explanation, please reach out to me or mention it in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we draw the curtain, and I'll see you in the next class.